Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guests here, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have the Third Ward, their band coming to us all the way from Wisconsin. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on well, go around, introduce yourselves first of all, and then give us a little bit of a backstory on what inspired you to get into music.
Alright, so my name is Xavier. I'm the bass player for the Third Ward. What inspired me to get into music? Well, I come from a musical family. My father's a drummer. My grandfather's a bassist. I've also had aunties and uncles that play other instruments and sing. I just started off listening to music and appreciating everything that all the music that I grew up listening to around me. I didn't start playing instruments until my sophomore year of high school. I joined my high school orchestra and started off on violin. Then my second semester, the bass player for my high school jazz ensemble ended up leaving, so I ended up taking that role. I was playing both violin and bass my sophomore year, but as time went on, I ended up getting more attached to bass guitar as my primary instrument and less on with violin, and it got to the point where I ended up leaving violin completely. And fast forward to junior year and senior year of high school, my appreciation for the bass grew, and I started to enjoy it a lot more, picked up a few influences along the way that I look up to now. And, it's something that I've really grown attached to,
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's something I wanted to continue doing after high school,
Yeah.
And,
So I always got to ask, the bassist is kind of known sometimes as the redhead stepchild of the band. I mean, they don't get that much respect when it comes to, audience members. I mean, they don't really know what the bass player contributes to the band. What would you say is the most undervalued aspect of a bass player when it comes to being in a band?
the most undervalued? So, the fact that essentially the bass players are the glue. We hold everything together. We hold the bottom end. We hold the bottom end down. We keep everything. We keep everything in key, and match what at the same time we keep everything in key and match what the drummer is doing in terms of keeping tempo too. But that's tempo tends to fall more on the drummer's part. I also think that one of the many reasons why bass players are so undervalued is many times just because they tend to be that person in the band that has no idea what they're doing. That's why no idea. They're essentially looked at as they're just the brain dead person of the group. They have no knowledge of music or anything that's all. I mean, I'm not they do, but it's
Yeah.
there's just not knowledgeable.
Absolutely. I mean, we've heard so many stories. I mean, and it really is. People don't realize that about the bass, especially. So that's why I love to, ask that question to bass players, because it is one of those instruments where people just look at it and they're like, okay, that doesn't seem as important. But I always say, for all of your songs that you really, really enjoy, if you were to take out the bass of them, those songs would sound completely different, and they probably 99% of the time wouldn't be as good as the way that they are. The bass is just one of those undervalued things that makes so much contributions when it comes to the style of music and what it sounds like. But now moving on, we also have another guy in the band whose name is Xavier. So I got that. Just so that everyone out there doesn't get a little mix up. Xavier, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Xavier. My stage name is Neanderthal, given to me by Spanky here. I'm the vocalist. What started me in music was trombone forever ago, back in the start of middle school, and then eventually I picked up guitar with our guitarist Alex, and we wanted to start a band, and I started doing vocals around the time I did guitar, but I wasn't planning on being the vocalist for the band. We went through one vocalist, and then I started trying to do vocals, and I was pretty shit up until this past year. But my band stuck it out with me and decided to let me grow instead of just get a replacement, just because I was one of the founders of the band. They didn't want to kick me out just yet, because I think they had a little bit of hope for me. At least that's what I like to think.
One of the questions that I always like to sort of ask the lead singer is that you do tend to realize when you guys are performing live, you do seem to get all the attention. A lot of people are looking at you specifically. A lot of people are, waiting to see what you do. How do you sort of deal with that? Do you sort of like to block it out of your head, or how do you approach that?
I kind of embrace it. I'm a very like energetic frontman. Kind of what I do when we get some more energetic parts of the songs, I end up just taking the mic with me in the crowd and I start just shoving people around while I'm doing vocals and stuff. Just get it going. Like if I'm gonna be one of the main points of attention, I might as well make it super energetic and fun instead of just being the boring frontman who stands there staring into the back of the crowd like with a blank face, just singing. Like there are times for that, but
yeah,
not all the time like some bands do it.
Absolutely. You got to definitely make it interesting. And now we go on to Spanky. He's one of the best nicknames I've ever heard in my entire life. Why don't you give us a little bit of backstory on yourself?
All right. So my real name is Anthony Allen, and I think they gave me the stage. I think Alex over here gave me the stage name because I just like to hit the drums really hard.
So. He does. I think he created a shockwave once.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I guess it started when I was little. I was my dad would always be playing like the normal like rock music, I guess, like mostly Incubus and like Red Hot Chili Peppers and
Foo Fighters?
Yeah, like Foo Fighters and stuff. So and like Nirvana and stuff. So I grew up from that, and then when I was like 4 or 5, something like that, my mom got me just like a little drum, like a kid kit, and then I'd just be smacking away on them. I didn't even know what I was doing, and then my mom came in while I was trying to play to a song and was like, she kind of just basically showed me the basics of how to play the drums, and then from there, I grew up and I was just every time I could get my hands and on a drum set, I'd play, and I'd play to music that I enjoyed, because along the way I'd visually see it on like a phone of how they play and like the sounds and stuff. I'm basically self-taught. I never had lessons, so I kind of just self-taught my way, and then eventually I met Xavier and I was doing some rap stuff with an old friend of mine, and he told me he was in a band and they were looking for a drummer, and then I think it took me like 2 or 3 auditions to finally get in, because I was like, at first. But then, yeah, I think I've been in the band since like been like a year and a half now, so.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I love asking drummers this question because they are sort of known as like the backbone of the band. I mean, if you mess up, it can sort of derail everything for the band. What are some ways that you sort of deal with that? I mean, does that ever enter your mind, and do you ever let that affect you?
Before, when I started, they all kind of looked at me like I was stupid. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, like, way to go. And I was like, damn it. Because I wanted to make like a good impression, but it didn't really work out. But then eventually, they all kind of like made me feel a lot better about it, because they were like, you're gonna mess up, it happens. So I kind of just, it doesn't really faze me. I kind of just laugh when I do it, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
nice.
There's always a face he makes when he messes up. He just like gives a little smile and I look over and it's like,
oh, I'm like, nice, dude, that's dope. So
that's awesome. So now we go over to Alex. Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Alex, stage name Gustav. Yeah, there's just always music around the house when I was growing up. My dad is a big music buff, and when I was younger, I played like violin and piano. And in middle school, when I was playing a band with Xavier, I played trumpet, but I never liked it really. Then I just tried guitar for the heck of it, and I just fell in love with it, like I never had before with anything else. Once I like fell in love with it, I wanted to form a band, so we formed a band. I just really like guitar.
That's awesome. So, how'd you come up with the name The Third Ward? How'd that come to be?
Well, it started in my basement, and where I live is the Third Ward of Eau Claire. Mm-hmm. So, and one day when I went to rehearsal, I was wearing a Third Ward T-shirt, because there's a place called the Local Store, mm-hmm. which has like neighborhood T-shirts too. So I was just wearing one because my parents got me one for Christmas. And
I was like, damn, that sounds like a good name.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. So when you guys were getting started as a band, was there any discussion as to what type of genre of music you guys wanted to play, or did you already sort of have that knowledge where you're just like, hey, I just want to play this type of music?
Hell no. We just play.
Well, kind of what happened at first, like Alex and I we had an idea of doing like kind of an alternative rock, kind of like we didn't have any like no specific sound, just kind of the alternative rock, kind of not super heavy, not super crazy, but not like too laid back either, just kind of in the middle. And then eventually, the more the lineup changed, because the only original people in the band now from when it started was Alex and I, and it just changed since, like, from every member, and it went from just alternative rock to now it's just a mix of like punk, stoner rock kind of type stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. So who comes up with the lyrics in the band? Who's the main person, or do you guys sort of like to all contribute?
I do most of the lyrics. We have one song where Alex did some lyrics, and I'm always down for people to write me some stuff, but usually I'm the one creating it, since if I'm going to be singing it, I want to feel my own emotions like throughout the track. But I mean, if anyone in the band's got some crazy lyrics I want to like throw at me, I'm down to sing them.
So when it comes down to coming up with your lyrics, what do you usually take for inspiration? I mean, we've had a lot of people come on and say that, you know, it's from stuff that they might hear in day-to-day conversation. It's just from stuff that they might just see walking down the street. Where do you think that you mainly take your inspiration from, lyrically wise?
Well, like, throughout our first album was a multitude of things. Well, the only album we have out right now. Sometimes it would just be like just a good feeling that I'd get, and I'd write about that, or just like whether it be failed relationships or our government, because I hate our government. Like, we got at least 3 songs on the album about like anti-government type stuff.
3 songs, more like all of them.
I mean, all of them, like, yeah, a lot of them pretty much. But and then lately for our new EP we've been writing, I've just been like, I have bad time with drug addiction and mental illnesses and stuff like that. So I like to get out all my frustrations and stuff in the lyrics, and I express myself that way. It helps me deal with it.
So how cathartic of an experience is that? Because we've had so many people on here, like we've had death metal people on here, we've had, you know, heavy metal guys. How much of that is also with your lyrics? You know, like you said before, it is kind of lethargic, but is that sort of a healing process that you like to use by, you know, sort of opening up to the audience? You kind of feel that also sort of helps you sort of heal and makes you feel better?
It does, because if I know people can relate to what I'm feeling and they relate that back to me, it helps me feel like I'm not as alone, and that it just helps a lot. Because even if nobody is listening, so when we play, just say when we rehearse, like, I'm letting that outside of myself. Like, even if I'm repeating the same lyrics over and over again, I'm still letting out those like submersed feelings that are inside of me.
Yeah,
get them out.
Absolutely. So when it comes down to the musical part of it, I mean, you have the lyrics down. Do you sort of know what it's going to sound like in your head when you write the lyrics, or do you just take it to the band and say, hey, let's make something work out of these lyrics?
Well, it's pretty much just like, they write the instrumental and I write the lyrics to it, or sometimes it's the other way around. I'll write some lyrics to it and then they write an instrumental to it. But I never really think of a melody beforehand. I wait till I hear the whole instrumentation before I create a melody. And it always takes like weeks upon weeks to finally get that fine-tuned melody I've been looking for. I mean, like with this EP we've been working on, like, my melody was absolute trash the first couple times we were going through it, because it was a new style of music that I haven't really been as familiar with. But now I think I've been nailing all of them after the couple of months we've been working on them.
And when it comes to song titles, I've always loved to ask all the bands that we have on, when it comes to naming your songs, there's either 2 ways that we normally get. First of all, you go from the lyrics that you've already written, and then you try to decide what a song title should be out of those lyrics. Or secondly, you have a song title already in your head, and then you write lyrics based off of that. Is there one way that you generally tend to prefer, or is it sort of a mixture of both for you guys?
I'd say it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Say for one of the songs, Counterpart, that one was already a song we had written forever ago, and we completely revamped the song, and then I wrote lyrics from the title there. But for the song Foundation, we don't even have the word foundation in the lyrics. Like, it's just kind of just it was more like the feeling of the song, just the laid out foundation. Like, sometimes just a vibe you get from the song, like just something you feel like, or you can explain your feelings to, just to have that to the title. Because I don't think, it is kind of cliche to always be using something from your lyrics as the title, so I think sometimes switching up helps.
We also, what we'll do is, like, sometimes, like, Alex will come in and he'll be like, yo, I wrote this riff or something, and then we'll jam to it and just, like, mess around with it and just, like, I guess kind of get a feel of if we want to make it a song or not. So then from there, we'll be like, what should we call that? And then we'll come up with some weird names.
Like the name Schnizzle?
Yeah,
one of our harder tracks that we're just working on. He just came up with the name Schnizzle for the riff, and
Well, I think I was trying to say Schnitzel, like the German food, but I ended up messing it up.
I like the chowder.
yeah, Schnizzle. Now it's Schnizzle.
That's awesome. So this next question is going to be for each of you guys to answer individually. I mean, probably my favorite question to ask guests that I have on the show is, people don't realize what it's like performing live, sort of like that thrill, sort of that high. I mean, people have described it as like a high on like any other drug, but when you guys are on stage performing live after you've practiced these songs for hours upon hours, what is that feeling like for you personally?
Insane, just the adrenaline pumping, especially when it's like a new song we're debuting. Like, you don't know how the crowd is going to react to it. That's really exciting. Whenever you play like a new room, it's really interesting to see how the crowd reacts to your music, because sometimes they'll be really sedated, sometimes they'll be super into it. It's everything all over the place. It's crazy. Mostly, I just want to see the reaction from the crowd. That's really cool.
I'm in my own little world when we're like playing shows. Like, I can't really see the crowd because I'm in the back, but
Also, all this hair.
I usually just I put my actual my soul and my heart into playing, because it's like my passion. So that I get my natural high from playing live. Even just playing in the rehearsal room with these guys, like I let it all out. It's amazing. It's like the best feeling ever.
We just hit a vibe together, and it's just like everything feels good.
Playing on stage is like nothing other. It's my favorite part about being a musician. Like, I love the recording, writing, music process, but finally bringing it all together to show everybody is my favorite part, because feeling that energy in the room, it is like a high. And like, even though I do have problems with drugs, like there's nothing that could ever replace playing on stage, like just like that. And that's why I never gave up on music, just because of that feeling, and I'm always just chasing it.
Playing on stage like live would have to be for me, like one of the best moments ever that I ever did. You know, it's really amazing. You know, I have yet to like perform live with these guys, but I'm very looking forward to it soon. A lot of energy that I usually don't have takes complete control over me, and it's like I have like this alternative personality, like a whole lot of energy, adrenaline is going to, it's fun, and it's a really great experience.
That's awesome. I mean, we've gotten so many answers, and I always like to say, whether you're doing, whatever you're doing, if you can just experience that feeling just once in your lives, it's one of those great feelings. I mean, I've sang karaoke before. It's nothing like what performing live is like, but it's, you sort of get a little taste of what that feeling is like, and it definitely can be a great feeling. And when you guys are on stage, would you tend to say that your sets seem to go by really, really quickly, or they seem to drag along, or what's the process been like that for you guys? What has your experience been with that?
For me personally, I feel like time doesn't exist when I'm playing. I feel like I could play for like 4 hours straight, and it felt like I wouldn't even know that it went by. It probably, to me, it'd feel like 20 minutes. I'd be like, well, shit, I want to keep playing.
That's awesome. So, I mean, when it comes down to that time, Matt, we do get a lot of it, it seems to slow down, or it seems to speed up really, really fast for a lot of bands as well. But do you guys as a band have any pre-show traditions? I mean, we've had a lot of bands on here that, they like to have a few shots. They like to have a couple of beers, sort of calm themselves down. Or, they like to all stretch. Do you guys have a tradition that you guys like to do before you get on stage? Or do you just like to go up there and sort of wing it when you get to the venue?
We just kind of get up there.
Yeah, we just kind of do it. We actually try and avoid any substances before playing, just to make sure we're in the best mind state we're in. But
cigarettes.
Yeah, nicotine. I used to smoke. Every time me and him would go out for a show.
That's awesome. So, what was the first show that you guys played as a band, just as the Third Ward, if you guys can remember back then? Where was it and how'd it go? We love to hear first show stories.
Oh my God, I'm trying to think. I remember it was Niblett's Apple Orchard. Oh. It was like a little fundraiser for a refuge house in Eau Claire, and we just got like a 30-minute set. We got some songs ready.
Yeah.
It was with our old bass player, and he was playing
I was on
drums
drums
and
and
singing
vocals.
at the same time. It was really weird.
Yeah,
Playing an apple orchard is really weird,
yeah.
especially the whole like rolling hills just for miles.
Wow, yeah, that must have been really, really cool though. But with the first what was the name of the first song that you guys came up with as a band, or the first song you released?
Well, the first song we ever composed was called Counterpart,
Mhm.
which we used to have an old recording of, but then we took it down. We're actually reworking it right now, and it's going to be on our new EP.
Mhm.
Although our first like real song, and it's on our debut album, is Vibes.
Mhm.
I think that was also our first single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys talked about that you guys do have an album out there. Could you kind of go over what the process was like for you getting that album done? Because a lot of people don't realize just how much of a struggle or how much of a time commitment it is. First of all, making the album, then releasing it. What was that process like for you guys?
We should all personally talk about that because we all have different experiences.
Mhm.
You can go.
Oh, I can go.
Yeah.
So just getting the album going. We had most of these songs, like probably 70% of the songs already written for like before we even had Anthony in the band for the album, but we eventually just remastered the songs with him in it. But once we it took like probably, I don't know, maybe 8 months about to get those songs good down with Anthony, and then we got in the studio.
Yeah.
And like the way we wanted to record is we didn't want to track it out. We wanted to have that energy as a live band. So we pretty much just took a whole day to go in and just record all together simultaneously, just in like separate rooms, but all tracked in together. And it was definitely it was a difficult process, but it definitely it was very fun. Like the studio was very vibey, and yeah, I enjoyed every second of it.
For me, it was it's actually been a dream of mine since I was a kid to get into a recording studio. So the first time when we all got in, I was mind blown. I was going crazy. So it was actually like one of the greatest experiences. And going in, we had a lot of fun together. Like we all hung out, and there were a few times where we had to like, when we were in the middle of recording, like one of us messed up, and then we had to do it again, and we had to do that a few times, and all of us were kind of getting frustrated because it was like we had to do it in one day. So obviously, like our first album isn't like the most perfect thing ever, but some of them came out pretty nicely, and we kind of it was kind of something to just kind of throw out there to be like, hey, this is our debut. But I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to getting to the studio soon. So
Yeah, for that we really wanted it to be like pretty much a live gig but recorded. So we did it all live together, and like, yeah, we messed up a little bit, but it is what it is. It's out to the world. As far as preparing for it and then recording it, that was a grueling, long process, and it was really for the most part unplanned, because there was a producer who came in to consult us one day, and that's when we found out he was a producer, and we just asked him if he wanted to like engineer our record, and it just sort of happened from there. And a couple months later we hit the studio, and the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah, that's awesome. So going into, I mean, releasing that album, how do you get sort of an album released? Do you have to like contact people and say like, hey, we need this album to get released. Can you guys, sell it to us? Or do you have to download it onto platforms? How does that work?
Well, what we use, like, do you mean like distributing the album?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to. It's just there's this awesome thing called DistroKid. We're not sponsored by them or anything, so I'm not talking out of my ass here. But no, it's like you pay a subscription for like $20 to $50 a year, depending on what options you wanted. There's like more like certain options that you get. The more you pay, the more options you have, and you can pretty much just upload through that all your music to iTunes, Spotify, and all that other stuff. So it's great for independent artists to use, and you might as well talk about it. So if any independent artist doesn't know how to get their music out there, you just go to DistroKid and they got you.
We actually did for when we released it, it was like a night or two before. My brother, me, and Alex, we all did the physical copies. Like, we did the stickers on the CD, and we printed out the cover and stuff. And we did. That was such a long process.
It was insane.
But we did it, and it was actually really cool because we all got to spend some time together and hang out. So.
Yeah, and where we released it was this concert called You Gotta Rock, which is like an every year thing, and it was at my high school. It's a benefit concert for children in the Potter's Village in Africa, in Ghana. So we wanted the physical copies so people could buy those, and all the money from that would go to this charity. So we got them for that, and then there are a couple places that sell CDs around town. We just drop them off there too. So,
yeah. So where can people find this? I mean, what did you guys name the album, and where could people find it online?
Red and Blue, and it's on like every streaming service.
Right.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Okay, I'll leave all the links down below. I love doing that. I'll leave all the Spotify and everything. I mean, we love supporting all the guests that come on here. But now we go to our audience favorite part, and my personal favorite part of the podcast, a little questionnaire where I'm going to ask these guys about 5 questions and see how they stack up to all the other guests that we've had. And again, all 5 of these questions you guys can all answer individually. So for our first question, out of all the songs in the history of music, if you could have come up with one song yourself, what would it be?
That's a tough one because like there's a lot. I could have come up with one song in like the history of music. That's tough.
What's like your favorite song? Because you love Rush, so it's your favorite.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Rush song?
There we go.
What's your favorite Jocko song?
If I could have like come up with one song, it would have to be like "La Vida Strangiato" by Rush. Like composition in that song is just crazy. Like it's just like 11 minutes of like badassery. Like it starts off with like this really cool drum beat with Neil Peart messing around with this jazzy drum beat or whatever, and then it goes out to like this 5-minute guitar solo by Alex Lifeson, and it like has this slow build up, and then it just like goes on into something epic.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after that has like one of my favorite bass solos of all time on it. But one of the many things I like about the song, it's a song that's like 11 minutes and it has like 6 different parts.
Oh, wow.
But like just all blend all in together. Like the transitions are like very smooth and they just like fit all together. Like it sounds like just one.
Yeah.
All organized piece.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For me, this is one of the bands. There's plenty of songs I would love to compose, but I'm a huge metalhead, and I'd have to choose. The ideal song would be "Prison Song" by System of a Down, for many reasons, because it's the anti-governmental lyrics that are behind it, like super in-depth, like researched, like stating facts in the lyrics about what our government does, like incarcerating people and stuff like that. And then top of that, there's the heavy, insane riffs throughout the song, and that just are super driven and keep you going. And System of a Down is probably one of my favorite artists and influences like ever. I've listened to their album Toxicity well over 1,000 times, but that'd probably be one song that I would choose just because of the complete rawness and anger that's inside of it.
I don't have an answer. Really don't. I have too many songs I could go through.
Oh, that's fine.
Actually, wait. Before I lied. Scar Tissue by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
That's a good song.
that's the first time we've heard that song, but yeah. All right, now Alex, what is your choice?
It's probably a tie between one of 2 songs. It would either be St. James Infirmary,
Oh.
which was originally recorded by Louis Armstrong, but I think it might have been an older jazz tune that they played in New Orleans. Or it would have to be Romance from the Lieutenant Kijé Suite, which is by Prokofiev, who is my favorite composer of all time, just because both of them are such beautiful, beautiful pieces of music. Like Lieutenant Kijé, the Romance section starts off with an upright bass solo, except it's in the upper range of it, in what would be a violin range, and it's just this beautiful harmonic overtone. And then you get all these little instrumentations in the background. It's just gorgeous. And then for St. James Infirmary, it's just, every time I hear it, it makes me feel somber and sad. And there's just an attitude about it that is just special. I don't know why. I just really like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now going on to our second question. Out of all the artists that have ever lived, dead or alive, doesn't matter. You can choose either one. If you could perform live on stage with any artist, who would it be for one show?
Probably
That's
Buddy
fine,
Guy, who is a Chicago bluesman, and he's just awesome. I saw him live years ago, and it was maybe the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god, I want to play with Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine.
For me, there's a couple, but I'd love to be able to play with. It either have to be Slipknot or Slayer, just because those are two metal bands I've listened to ever since I was little, and then I've seen Slayer twice and Slipknot once, and they both have insane shows. Like, the crowd goes crazy, and if I could just play on stage with them, like, I felt the energy in the crowd, I bet I could feel it 100 times more on stage with them.
For me, it goes down to artists that I would very enjoy much to play with. One of them is John Petitucci, bassist from the Chick Corea Electric Band. You know, like he does a lot of very innovative techniques. It's like one of those like he plays a 6-string bass like I have never seen played before. Like, you know, never seen it done. And then my other would have to be Pat Metheny.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great answers. So now for our third question, out of all the venues on the planet, if you could play at any place on the planet, where would it be?
If I could play at any place on the planet, it's not necessarily, I mean, what I have to say isn't from this time period, but if I had the opportunity to play at any place, it would have to be Woodstock.
Yeah.
I forget the actual name of it. Oh yeah, it's Palau de la Música. It's a concert hall in Barcelona, and I have Spanish, and I'm in Barcelona area pretty much every summer. And I visited there once, and it has insane acoustics, and it looks gorgeous. I just want to play there.
I don't have a venue, but I just want to play in Rio. That'd be so fire.
Personally, I just want to play all over the world. Like, I just want to get a taste of every single place. There's no specific area, but the Burning Man Festival would be pretty crazy to play at, like out in the desert, like some crazy giant Burning Man. You know, like, that festival is just crazy, and I've yet to go to one, but that would be one, I guess, festival I'd like to play at. But other than that, I'd love to travel the entire earth with my music.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And now we get to the real nitty gritty with the fourth question. What is a guilty pleasure song that you enjoy that you think most people wouldn't think of that you enjoy?
What's that one Charlie Puth song that came out last year that features the awesome bass line at the beginning?
I'm trying to think.
But that's a 100% guilty pleasure song, is that Charlie Puth song.
Mm-hmm.
Attention, that's what it is. Attention by Charlie Puth.
For me, it'd be What You Say by Jason Derulo.
I was gonna say, the first thing that came to my mind, because I remember back, it was in middle school, I would just it just came on, and I screamed it with my friend. But "Teenage Dream" by Katy Perry. That song, I will belt it at the top of my lungs just every time it comes on. Just like, I don't even listen to Katy Perry, but for some reason that song I always liked it, just ever since I was little.
Yeah, that's an underrated song for sure.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I really can't answer that question just because, like, I really don't have it. You know?
His musical tastes are too advanced for our simple
I see. So if you think of one, no worries, come back. But for our last question, this is a very controversial question, but I always like to ask it. If you had the all-seeing power to make it so that someone who has recorded music could, like, none other music would have ever existed, like that their music would be wiped off the face of the planet, no one would ever have known that they existed as an artist, this person would not be dead, they would have just, like, let's say instead of deciding to become a musician, they would have decided to be like a plumber or any other job. Like, I have to reiterate, you will not be killing this person, but if you had the all-knowing power to do that, who would you inflict that on?
Maybe Justin Bieber, because he sucks.
I really shut the fuck up. I really don't have an answer, just because personally I think that every music, no matter what, can be appreciated by somebody somewhere. So I think anyone who wanted to ever put music out there should, no matter how shit it is, just because that's their idea of what themselves and their own feelings are. So I personally think, like, I wouldn't take anyone's music away. If I don't like somebody's music, I just don't give a shit about it. But
Why would you say Justin Bieber? That's like 2010, dude.
Because he's awful. Like, I still hate that song. Actually, wait, no. It would be the song specifically, Alejandro by Lady Gaga. I just want to erase that song because my name is Alex and I have Spanish and everybody was like, Alejandro. And I'm like,
no.
I have to agree with Xavier on this though. Like, people appreciate music. Like, we all appreciate different music. Like, there'll probably be an artist that one of us likes and the other one, like, absolutely hates. Like, people like what they like. I don't care what people like. I just simply won't go out of my way to listen to it, so.
I mean, same answer. Like, you know, people have, you know, if they want to do music, you know, they have, like, you know, the freedom to, like, release it, you know. I'm all down for that, like, you know, no matter how shitty it is. You know, even if it's like super shitty, like, you know, Kenny G shitty. You know, but you know, that's my take on it.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So you guys mentioned before that you're working on an EP. What's the current progress on that?
we're heading into the studio in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're done composing. We're just getting our final touches, making sure it all sounds good. And we just got some rough draft recordings from our last rehearsal, and it sounded pretty prime. So
Our little demos.
All right. So, where do you guys see yourself a year from now? What would be the ultimate goal? Like, if we were to talk again a year from now, where would you guys like to be at?
touring.
Yeah, I was gonna say
touring.
Yeah.
My idea. Just
Yeah, we would like to have like done a tour over the summer and played a bunch of shows, released the EP, that stuff.
Our goal is just start around Wisconsin, Midwest, and then branch out to all over the United States and see how far we get. I'm thinking we can make it global, at least with touring. Not necessarily like how much our songs are hitting on the charts, just by where we hit.
Do you guys have any shows upcoming that you have planned, or are you guys just sort of still working on the recording process?
February 1st at the Plus in Eau Claire, just because since our bassist hasn't played with us yet, it's going to be his debut show with us, and I'm pretty pumped for that. After that, we're trying to get on a festival.
And we're debuting our new stuff, so that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, you guys, the Third Ward, go and check these guys out. I'll leave all their links down below. Lastly, are there any local bands that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Misadventures.
Yeah, I was just saying Misadventures from across Wisconsin, Filthy Sweet,
Midwest Voltage, they're going to play with us.
Loyal Pride.
Loyal Pride, I love those guys.
Trying to think of one last band.
Andy Nelson and Chronovisor.
I don't even know if that's a name anymore because it changed like all the time.
Oh, anything that Andy Nelson does.
All right.
FFR, Bow and Arrow, and Mothlight, all from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
All right. Sounds good. I'll leave a link down below for all those artists. And again, you guys, we cannot thank you guys so much for coming on. Keep us updated when you get that EP released, and I'd love to give you a plug on that. Absolutely. And again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.